and asked me, "Hey, Agostinho, why are you feeling so bad?" I'm feeling so bad, of course, because United lost the Manchester Derby on Sunday, which is yesterday, because I'm recording this current pod at 6:28 p.m. on the Monday. We lost the Manchester Derby. We lost the Manchester Derby, and I'm pissed off. I'm annoyed. I'm frustrated, but I'm not too surprised. Just to start off my early kind of analysis and review of the match, I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of surprised by the optimism and the giddiness from our fan base pre-match. Maybe it's because the way the season started, and before the match kicked off, we were ahead of Man City in the table after a couple of games and stuff. I don't know. Maybe it's because of recent injuries Man City have recently suffered to a lot of their star players, their better players. People are thinking, okay, cool, we've got a chance to really kind of spin them. But I was never that confident. I really was never that confident. I was just surprised that people were that, because I think with Man City, regardless of who's injured, who isn't injured, they're a well-oiled machine. You know, they play the same way most of the time. They have the same level of intensity most of the time. They offer the same threats on goal most of the time. It doesn't really matter. Like, Haaland could not play and they're still going to create a lot of chances. Whether or not they're going to score, whether or not they're going to be as clinical with him up front is another topic. But they're still an elite top level team. So I was really surprised by the optimism that I heard amongst other United fans regarding the game, and thinking that we were going to win. But obviously the game comes around, you're hoping for the best anyway. Then the lineup turns out and you're like, oh, that lineup was a bit spooky. The lineup is the thing that gave me the most worry, because, you know, Man City have got a lot of competent midfielders. We would only have maybe two in that center of the park in terms of Ugarte and Bruno, who are going to occupy those spaces. So the immediate thing that I thought when I saw that lineup was that we're probably going to get overcrowded in midfield. They're probably going to gang up on us. They're probably going to have, you know, a few more bodies in that midfield that would give us a lot more issue, because in Ruben Amorim's system, these two players are basically the only midfielders. Everybody else is basically an attacker, if you think about it. You could basically say this is a back five, and I think everyone else attacks. Those two wing backs don't really come back and defend. There's usually a lot of space around. There's usually a lot of space in front of these players. As you can see, just in the lineup here, there's a big gaping hole right in the middle there. So a lot of the defenders, and, you know, you wouldn't want your striker dropping back. So I was immediately worried when I saw this lineup, because if you're having Bruno Fernandes and Ugarte playing there as a deep landing midfielders, what you're doing is that you have one specialist in Ugarte who can press, who can defend well, but then you have a midfielder or an attacking midfielder in Bruno Fernandes' sense, who by his nature is not very positionally disciplined. He kind of reminds you a lot of Steven Gerrard towards the end of his time, you know? Steven Gerrard towards the end of his time at Liverpool was still doing the same things he was doing when he was really young. But unfortunately, he was older now, so he wasn't maybe as good. So you couldn't accommodate him. That's a problem. I think when Bruno was first signed to our club, we could accommodate and we could kind of make excuses for him because he was so good going forward. It kind of negated how he was going back. So you just left him up front. But now he's required to be a little bit more defensively disciplined. You see some of his shortcomings because he doesn't really hold his position. He doesn't read the game well, doesn't pass the ball well. He's just not, doesn't have the instincts. So I was already nervous about that personally. But I was happy to see Sesko playing. It's his first start for United, although it was a bit of a hard task for him to be his first start playing for the club, a derby game against Man City. But to be fair, all of our league fixtures are pretty hard, right? All of our league fixtures are pretty fucking hard. So there was never going to be an easy match for him to play. But still, maybe we would have preferred him to get more minutes in previous matches. So he came into this game with a bit more of a flow, a bit more fitness, a bit more confidence. But regardless, he did it anyway. And then, of course, we had Diallo and Mbeumo playing as wingers or as number 10s in that position. But then later on in the match, when the subs were made, Diallo switched back to a wing back again. So whatever. The lineup I wasn't too happy about. And then, of course, in defense, we had Matthijs de Ligt and Luke Shaw playing, and again Euro playing on the other side, and of course Dorgu and Mazwari playing as wing backs. So I was already worried about the lineup because I'm not the biggest fan of Luke Shaw. I said it plenty of times on every platform that I have, that I think if Luke Shaw wasn't white, if Luke Shaw wasn't British or English, I think the conversation around him would be way different. Because he's white he gets away with fucking murder. Because I think there's players like Martial who were just as injury prone as Luke Shaw, who got hounded out of the club. The fans are booing him in the stadium, all sorts of madness. But Luke Shaw gets a lot of love. Luke Shaw gets a lot of love from the club, from the fans, and he's been a joke. He's been at the club for like 10 plus years. He's always injured, never reliable. Then when he does play, he's fucking terrible. So I'm not the biggest fan of him, and I think he's stealing wages, to be completely honest. But again, he's white, he's English, so he's going to stay to the club until he decides to leave. So when I saw his name in the lineup, again, whatever, I'm not happy about it, but his best position in this team is left centre back, so whatever, it is what it is. Now, to be fair to this team, the first 15 minutes, or let's say the first 12, were pretty good from us. The first 12 to 15 minutes were pretty good. We had a lot of the ball. We were pressing Man City. We were kind of occupying them, you know, just being a threat on the ball. But, of course, we didn't take advantage of that. Because Man City, you know, with their injuries as well, they're not as potent, or just in general, they're not the Man City of old that will just destroy you. They have, you know, they have their weak points. They have been beaten. They haven't looked the best over previous seasons and stuff. So we're not facing the best version. So if there was a time to face Man City, you would say it'll be now. But unfortunately, United aren't the team or the club set up in a way to take advantage of their shortcomings. So I wasn't surprised to see that it ended up the way it ended up. But of course, the game, it started pretty well. I was confident, thinking, okay, cool, we might get something out of this. Then as soon as the first goal went in, I think that knocked the air out of us. And maybe that goes to say what Ruben has been saying about the club. Maybe he's right. Ruben's been talking a lot about mentality, saying his system is not the problem, it's a mentality, which is a bit narcissistic, a little bit, you know, it's never my fault, always the player's fault type of shit. But he's going to die on that hill. He's basically saying his system is not the problem is the mentality of the players. Now, I can kind of agree with him, because once that first goal went in, I think our players' heads dropped. They didn't look like they were ever going to get back into the game. I personally thought the game was over after 1-0, especially because usually if you concede soon after, you kind of, you know, you usually are on the onus, you got the ball, you're trying to press, you're trying to go for an equalizer. And I felt like as soon as they scored, a couple of minutes, we didn't really have a flurry. We didn't really ever have a flurry where it ever felt like we were sustaining pressure, you know? It felt like the players kind of let their heads down. So that was really concerning. And then, of course, as the game went on, no real big chances created. I felt like I saw Sesko looking a lot like Højlund up front. People won't like that now, because in their head, they've got this idea that Højlund was a problem for us. Højlund was an issue. It was all Højlund's fault. If we didn't have Højlund, we would have scored more goals. But I disagree entirely. I think Højlund was bad. I think Højlund was wasteful. I think Højlund maybe was falling over too much. Didn't have good hold-up play. But I also don't think Højlund was getting the service that these guys think he was getting. Højlund didn't miss that many chances. If we look back, I wish I could look back properly, but I would probably guess Højlund did not miss that many like gilt-edged chances. Like, oh my God, has to score. He didn't really. A lot of the chances that he missed, if we're being honest, he had to create them himself. The chances where he's like bullying a defender, skipping past three, holding off one, then shooting, I'm not going to count that as a chance, because he having to do a lot to get a chance. He left the pitch drenched, covered in mud, fighting people, wrestling people. That's not the way strikers should be. You should be providing them with opportunities. Yes, of course, you're going to get muddy and shit, but come on, bro. Our strikers don't get any service, and you're seeing it with Sesko. Sesko is like, what, 6'7", built like a brick shithouse. We rarely get crosses into his direction. He's rarely competing for fucking crosses. He's rarely running down the line, running through the middle, doing the bended run, and getting the ball over the top. All the goals you saw Sesko scoring for Red Bull, you don't ever get him, or I don't ever see him having the same chance at United. I know it's only, you know, it's not been too long. It's only been a few games, but you're not really seeing the same Sesko at Red Bull than you're seeing at United. And I think that's a common theme, in that we don't really bring the best out of our players. We don't take the players from their teams and try to make the best out of, and try to ensure that they play the best way that they can play, which they were playing at their previous club, at our club. It's just they have to play a completely different way, you know, which is kind of goes against why you're buying them in the first place. But regardless, so Sesko didn't look that great, and Mbeumo started off pretty well. I think throughout the entire match, I think he might have been one of our best players, although he missed a lot of chances. Mbeumo looked good, and then I think we ended the half. In my opinion, I was quite deflated. I didn't really think we were going to get back into the game. second half started, and as soon as I kind of felt that, the second half was a good illustration of that. Probably zero kind of penetration from us. City having most of the ball, pressuring to the point where they end up scoring the second goal with Foden. That second goal with Phil Foden, though. Oh no, sorry, the first goal with Phil Foden, obviously with the first. So the first goal with Phil Foden. I'm gonna say a better goalkeeper will save that. I'll down that hill. I think a better goalkeeper than Bayinda saves that diving header from Phil Foden. I think a better goalkeeper would get his fingertips on that ball and save it. Personally, that's what I would say. I don't think the header was that great that it would, evade a good goalkeeper. But it is what it is. Bayinda's in goal. The second goal that Haaland scored, mistakes everywhere, really, right? Mistakes from everybody, from Bruno to Luke Shaw to I think that was for the first goal. Sorry, the first goal is Bruno and Luke Shaw. For the second goal, I would definitely say Bayinda, kinda, because he kind of ducks his head out of the way. As Højlund is going through on goal, he chips him and he sort of like ducks his head out of the way. He doesn't just let the ball hit his face, which most keepers would do. And if I'm being honest too, I think, again, I'm not the expert for goalkeepers, but I think when Altay Bayinda goes out to Højlund to meet him for that second goal, I think he dives to the ground too early. Because I think most keepers, you kind of play chicken with a striker. You stay up as long as possible to make you the biggest target possible to get past, so that they can, probably fumble. But you don't go to ground. I think he went to ground too early. Maybe he was trying to guess what Højlund was going to do. Maybe he thought Højlund was going to try and pass it around him so he could stop it with his leg. I don't know. But I think he should have maybe stood up a bit more and waited for Højlund to do what he wanted to do, and then, got hit in the face. Because I think if he gets hit in the face and it's 1-0 still, that would be a whole different game. But as soon as that second goal went in, if anybody had any doubts, the game was definitely over then. And then, of course, the third goal, by the time that went in, I wasn't even paying attention to the game anymore. I'm also not going to take any joy from us actually turning it on after the third goal. I'm not going to take any joy because I feel like the game, it was too late. The game was gone. We were never going to come back anyway. So I feel like the players suddenly deciding to play well, deciding to pass the ball at pace, move very quickly. I don't necessarily think I don't really think I'm that enamored with it personally. But what I did like was the cameo from Kobbie Mainoo. The Kobbie Mainoo cameo for me was another example as to why I'm just never going to buy into this idea that certain players are better than certain players in this current United team. I don't think there's any player in this team who can say, maybe with the exception maybe Sesko, who can say they are leaps and bounds ahead of the young players playing in our team. I don't think so. I don't think that's fair to say. Because I think the players in our team are so shit that they deserve to get rotated with whoever's playing behind them. So when Ruben Amorim comes out and says, effectively, worse to an extent, that Kobbie isn't good enough to play in the midfield yet, he needs to keep improving, he needs to keep fighting, I just don't believe it. Because the players he's playing in front of him aren't better than him as footballers. Maybe Ugarte might be a better defender, quote unquote, kinda, maybe. But is Bruno a better defender than Kobbie Mainoo? Is Bruno a better athlete than Kobbie Mainoo? I don't think so. So why does he play? Why does he get excuses and Kobbie doesn't? Because when Kobbie gets on the ball, you see the difference in quality. Now, that's not to say Kobbie's going to save our season. We're terrible. We need new wing backs. We need midfielders. We've always needed them. We probably need a goalkeeper because what I've seen of that Lemens kid, it doesn't look great. What I've seen of that Lemens kid we bought from Belgium, it doesn't look good. He looks worse than Bayinda. I'm not going to lie. So the people getting the hype over Lemens, he's coming in for another league. We're expecting him to be our #1 goalkeeper. It's all fucking pants. We signed figure this out. We signed a first team goalkeeper on the last day of the transfer window. That's an important position in the team, and we signed that person on the last day of the transfer window. And it's a young goalkeeper. It's not like we signed Donnarumma. We signed a young goalkeeper who we're not sure on the last day. Fucking crazy. So I'm not really too optimistic about that. So, it kind of is what it is. But the Kobbie Mainoo situation, if I was Kobbie Mainoo, I'm going on strike. If I'm Kobbie Mainoo and I saw the compilation that I saw, and I'm sure some of you have seen it already, I'm not going to play it. I'll just skip around. But there's like a compilation somebody put up on Twitter. It's like a minute long. It's a minute-long compilation of Kobbie Mainoo's performance against Man City. And personally, if I'm Kobbie Mainoo, I'm striking. I'm doing an Alexander Isak. I'm going on strike. And I'm forcing a move in January. Because there's no reason why Kobbie Mainoo cannot play in our midfield. There's simply no reason why he cannot start in that Manchester United midfield as of now. There's not a single player in that midfield that's better than him. Not a single one that's that much better than him that he doesn't deserve to start. So this whole thing about, oh, he's not training hard enough is bullshit. Amorim has favorites. He's also very loyal. I understand that. But let's just call a spade a spade. Like, why, like, that's it. Just say the truth. Don't make it seem like Kobe's doing something wrong. He's not. You have your favorites. You prefer them. You're playing them. Cool. But let's not lie. Because the Kobe cameo that we saw for 10 minutes is proof enough. Even the previous game is proof that he should be playing for us, in my personal opinion. He should be starting. He definitely should be starting more than us. But one thing that I didn't like about the Kobe Maino's cameo was this little section here that everybody's creaming over, right? Obviously, he gets the ball and he controls it really well. He skips past one defender. There's other midfielder comes across. He nuts him. I think that might be Pedro. I think that might be Rodri. Sorry, that might be Rodri. He nutmegs Rodri as he goes past him. Now, what I don't like is the gaps. There's too many gaps here. There's not enough midfielders around him. That I don't like personally. And I think that's a clear indication of where we are as a team. We don't move as a unit. The midfielders kind of move by themselves. Like these two deep lining playmakers play by themselves. These players play by themselves, the wing back and the number 10. And the striker kind of figures it out. We don't really move as a unit. So whatever the formation debate is, 3-4-3, 4-4-2, I don't care what the formation is. But I just want us to play like a unit more. I want us to attack and defend together. I don't want it to look like one person's pressing, another person isn't, one person's marking, one person isn't. We have to move together as a unit. I think that's what really fucked us. Because I think there's a way you play 3-4-3 against a Man City who are going to flood the midfield, and you still, in my personal opinion, have more of the ball. But you have to be moving in the unit. Because if you think about it, that three in midfield here, they kind of stay together too. Right? They're kind of together. If anything, maybe Rodri and and Reinders stay together. Then the rest of these players are kind of attacking, right? From Foden to Doku to Haaland and Silva. But what they do is that they stay together as a unit. Foden drops in from time to time. And I don't think we have enough of that, to be honest, which is a big concern. But it is what it is, I guess. I'm a bit annoyed with it. It's not going to get any better anytime soon. I don't expect Ruben Amorim to get fired anytime soon. Because, you know, they've committed to him already now with this kind of fucking makeover and squad overhaul. I don't expect them to fire him and then try to get another manager in who needs more players. With the club not having money, I just don't see that happening personally. So I think he's going to stay for the short to long-term future, which I'm perfectly okay with. Because I don't think it's the manager's fault. I'm of the belief that the manager's partly to blame, but I'm of the belief that we have such poor players that we finished 15th last season, you know? In a league that we probably shouldn't have finished 15th in. We finished 15th comfortably because we're shit. And I think fans who are thinking that Iraola or Conte can come in and get us playing top 4 football, they're delusional. They're delusional and crazy, because I don't think we finished 15th for no reason. We finished 15th for a reason. We haven't really improved much of the midfield. We haven't really improved much of the defense. We don't really have a lot of ball players in the team. We've got a shitty goalkeeping situation. Maybe one of the worst we've had in a long fucking time. So this idea that we're going to change completely if we get one manager in to play 4-4-3-3 is fucking garbage. So it is what it is. It is what it is. It is what it is. There's another story that just came online. I don't know if it's true or not, right? There's another story that just came online, courtesy of Chris Wheeler from the Daily Mirror. This is regarding Bruno Fernandes. This is a really strange story. Not sure if this is true, so take it with a pinch of salt. But according to Chris Wheeler, the murmurs coming from Bruno Fernandes' camp is that he's not happy with where he's playing this deep lining playmaker role. He's not happy with it. Now, this is really fucking annoying, because as much as I don't like Bruno Fernandes, you have to agree that Ruben Amorim is essentially staking his entire career on Bruno. He's going to get sacked because of Bruno, basically. If he doesn't decide what he wants to do with Bruno, drop him or rotate him, or play him in his favorite position or not, because that's what I personally think. If you're going to play Bruno, you have to play him in his favorite position, which is just up front, whatever, loitering around, creating, scoring goals. But playing him as a midfielder ain't going to work. We already see that. He just doesn't have it. And I also think that attacking position, he's kind of lost a bit of his spark. He misses chances a lot now. He doesn't assist as much. He's not the Bruno that we once was. His powers are waning. But if you're going to play him, you have to play him up front. You have to play him further up the pitch. Now, I'm annoyed by this because this just shows how our players are so entitled. They're such arseholes because Ruben Amorim, for better or worse, is banking his entire United reign on Bruno. And this is how Bruno thanks him. Oh, I don't like playing in that position. Bitch, he plays you every game. Yeah, you don't like playing the position, but Ruben Amorim is such a diehard, loyal Bruno fan that he's willing to play him every game. He never gets subbed. I can't remember the last time Bruno Fernandes got subbed off a game. I can't remember it. And there's been plenty of times where he's played poorly and warranted to be subbed, and he's never been subbed. He hardly gets dropped. I think the only time he got dropped, quote unquote, was against Grimsby. But that was a fucking League Cup game. And then as soon as we were losing, he came on. But he never gets dropped. He never gets treated like other players. And I personally think, as I went with the Kobe Mainoo debate, I personally don't think there's a single player in this team that's deserving of an automatic place in the starting lineup. I don't think so. I think every player has to play for their position, has to train for their position, has to do the whole "what have you done for me lately" thing with your form. No one deserves to start in this team. No one deserves to start off rip. They will have to earn their right to play through training and fucking matches. Bruno isn't that good. I'm sorry. Some of the Bruno loyalists and fanatics out there are delusional. And even if it wasn't true, I just don't want that kind of atmosphere in my club. Even if Bruno is as world class as these guys say they are, I don't want the atmosphere in my club where there's a one player that cannot get dropped. That's part of the reason why, as much as I love Ronaldo, why I had a bit of an issue with Ronaldo when he was at United. Ronaldo had this thing where he was at United where he got annoyed at even a suggestion that he could be dropped or rotated. Like, got frustrated, like pissing himself on the fucking touchline, making all kind of faces. It's like, no, that's not how team works. You have to earn your place. Sometimes you get rotated, sometimes you get dropped. That's how everybody knows you're in a fair dressing room, so everyone has to bring it in training. But if you have one player who doesn't need to bring it, who can play 10%, who can be shit in some games, who can be ineffective in some games, wasteful in some games, and never seems to get punished for it, no player is going to take you seriously as a manager. I don't care. Because part of the punishment of playing badly is not playing the next game. Then you learn, you fix the errors, you maybe play again the following game. So the fact that Bruno is essentially like spitting in Ruben Amorim's face by saying, I don't like playing deep lining playmaker sort of thing, kind of absolving himself of blame and blaming the manager for playing him there, just goes to show how the lack of loyalty runs two ways, isn't it? Clubs are also not loyal to players, but players are also pieces of shit to fucking managers and their clubs. Because Ruben has gone out of his way, I felt like, to accommodate Bruno in every shape and way. Probably to our detriment. He's gone out of his way to accommodate Bruno to our detriment, and this is how he thanks him. Oh, Jesus Christ. But what can you do? What can you do? What can you do? Absolutely nada.